Hey everybody, Uncle Dane from YouTube. The allegations are true. I don't main engineer anymore because he's for noobs. From now on, I only main the heavy weapons guy because he's the main character of Team Fortress 2. This is not an April Fool's joke like last time, and you can tell because this video was uploaded in June, the month where we celebrate being 100% serious and being gay. Last year I made Pyro for a month as like a little experiment. Pyro was my least played class, so I figured I should probably give it a fair shot and try my best to make the most of it, so you can watch that video for the specifics. But overall, it was a pretty cool experience, and I ended up enjoying the playstyle that I had fine-tuned so much that Pyro eventually stopped being my least played class. So naturally, there have been a lot of people since who want me to continue the experiment with other classes, regardless of if it's an April Fool's joke or not. So, what better class to keep this unofficial series going than my new least played class, the Heavy, the guy on the box. Now, it may not be very surprising to a lot of you that the Heavy is my least played class because it's kind of a community-wide bit of common knowledge that Heavy mains are few and far between in general. Like, when it comes to this game, Heavy has always been a bit of an underdog. He lost the Meet Your Match vote to Pyro, he got gaslit and scammed out of his own update by Valve, and his sister is way cooler than him. But actually, the Heavy is such a popular part of the TF2 image. He's sort of the game's unofficial mascot, and despite what people might assume about Heavy based on his playtime getting consistently overshadowed by more explosive classes, the Heavy is an incredibly powerful class, and even though he's been one of my least played classes, I still feel like more often than not, I fucking clean house with Heavy. Like, he's a despicable mass murderer in the streets, and according to Sasha, a very gentle man in the sheets.
Oh my god.
He fucks his gun. So what's the big idea? Like, it seems like this Russian hunk has everything going for him. He's powerful, he's famous, he's an underdog, so everybody's rooting for him. He's 6'5", and he's got a beautiful wife. Why does nobody want to play the Heavy? Well, that's the thing about TF2. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what's good. It doesn't really matter what get kills. What matters is he fun to play? No. He's not fun to play, and it's pretty well known to most TF2 players why Heavy is not very fun to play. He just does this. Like, just hold down the button, put the crosshair on noobs. Cool. As opposed to Pyro, who I had avoided playing despite knowing that there was a deeper playstyle available, I had avoided playing Heavy because I've always felt confident that I've already done everything there is to do with him. Heavy is a very one-track minded class. He just shoots a constant stream of bullets, and if you watched my Pyro one, you already would know that I just don't find that style of doing damage to be very fun. The minigun is not like the shotgun where you just get to go blam and watch your enemy bite the dust. The minigun just goes and you get to wait for your enemy to fall over eventually. So doing damage isn't very fun. But what about movement? Well, Heavy doesn't have any movement mechanics at all, just beyond taking out his melee weapon like you're trying to get to be half a second faster in Counter-Strike. He's the slowest class, and that feels bad. But don't worry, to make up for his speed, the Heavy has the highest health pool in the game, and that's it's all gone. It's all gone instantly. It's gone. I'm fucking dead. Turns out Team Fortress 2 is not a simple little game where you can just turn down the speed and turn up the health and have everything work out on paper, because being slow in Team Fortress 2 makes you a sitting duck, and being susceptible to focus fire in this game makes an extra 100 health feel like it legitimately does not matter at all, because survivability in TF2 is not just tied to having enough health, it's also tied to positioning and maneuverability. For example, Scout has good survivability despite having low health because his maneuverability greatly makes up for it. In TF2, movement is more valuable than health. If you think about it, health is just a stat that says how many times you're allowed to get hit, but your mobility is how you prevent getting hit entirely. Not to mention, movement is a mechanical skill that can be improved upon and exploited by the big brain of the player, but it doesn't matter how good you are at TF2, the base health of every class will always stay the same, locked in place no matter how hard you practice. So Heavy is being limited by two low ceilings, his unchanging and unimpactful health and his very limited mobility. And in the world of TF2's rocket jumps, double jumps, jetpacks, edge bugs, and whatever else these crazy other classes can pull off, Heavy is unfortunately ground bound, squirting a bullet hose while everyone else beats the shit out of him, and that's just not as fun. This was my dissertation about Heavy that I was confident in having locked down. So originally, I went into this experiment with my mind kind of made up already. Heavy is a boring class with a limited toolkit, and I assumed that I would probably just end up saying a lot of things in this video that you've probably already heard and how it feels to play Heavy. But, to my surprise, I was wrong. Real quick though, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, War Thunder. They're back, and they've got tanks, they've got planes, they've got this thing, I forget what it's called, but they've got it. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever. Incredibly detailed, realism-focused, and steeped in authenticity. If you've ever wanted to experience the war machine from the cockpit of a war machine built for the sole purpose of destruction, War Thunder is right up your alley. But my favorite part by far is the sheer amount of customization you can apply to your vehicles, which I suppose isn't all that surprising considering the absolute state of my TF2 backpack. But the best part is, this game is available right now for free on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And if you go there right now to the description of this video and click on the link in there, you'll also be able to pick up a massive bonus pack for any new and returning players that haven't played for at least 6 months. You'll get a bunch of premium vehicles, an exclusive vehicle decorator called the Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, 7 days of premium account, and a whole lot of other stuff that you see here. So don't dilly-dally, soldier. Immerse yourself along with 70 million players in the intense combat of War Thunder. Thank you, War Thunder, for sponsoring this video. It's funny, these experiments where I decide to play a class that I thought I didn't like have been just as revealing to me about myself and my own personality as it has been revealing about the class itself. Because I discovered something that may or may not have been obvious to the people who have watched my videos all these years. I am stubborn when it comes to bad classes. I mean, think about this entire channel. I've managed to make a whole ass YouTube career out of taking a class with a surface level debilitating stat lineup and insisting repeatedly for years that this isn't a bad class, you just ain't doing it right. So that's instantly where my mind went when I approached maining heavy. I thought, everybody, including myself, seems to believe that this guy's limit is here. Where's the real one at? So to start, I equipped the standard heavy loadout and I just started playing. My experience playing heavy can be categorized into 4 phases, kind of like those videos that people used to make all the time. Phase 1, I'll call default heavy. This is what I imagine people think of when you think of the heavy gameplay. Minigun, sandwich, fists of steel. Establish yourself on the front lines, take hits and lay down a wall of bullets to make space and rack up kills. But doing this, I experienced pretty quickly exactly what I assumed I would. This is not an effective strategy. I'm just sitting out in the open getting shot at by everyone in the entire game, which is made extremely easy considering that in order to do damage, I need to make myself even slower. I can't go faster, so I need more health. The medic heavy pairing is iconic, and it honestly is what makes this playstyle actually viable. Getting pocketed as any class is usually pretty powerful, but getting overhealed, getting crossbowed, getting crits, getting ubered, it really just does make heavy the power class that he is. But there are 2 very unfortunate reality checks that get slammed on top of this fact. First of all, in public servers, there's no guarantee that someone is going to play medic, and there's even less of a guarantee that a medic is going to pocket me. So when I literally need a medic to put a medigun up my, I don't even want to say it, butthole, in order to have any chance of not getting owned, it often feels like my enjoyment of the game hinges on if I roll lucky on whatever my teammates decide to do, which is a proven recipe for a bad time. But second of all, even if I manage to psychologically manipulate a medic player into pocketing me by equipping an unusual hat and doing push-ups, it really doesn't matter all that much if the enemy team has one decent sniper or spy on their team. These classes one-shot you before you can react, as they should. They are designed to be the counter to heavy, but like I said in this video, the counter to a pocketed pub stomper is focus fire, which the heavy is incredibly weak to no matter how much he's overhealed. At the end of the day, movement is more valuable than health, so while increasing that stat through the power of teamwork is pretty darn effective, you're still a sitting duck. You can still be overwhelmed in an instant. So what else is there? We don't have movement, but we do have positioning. Just because the heavy moves slow doesn't mean he can't go places. He can still go places, it's just that he gets there slower, which if you think about it is kind of a familiar thing to an engineer main like me. There's a lot of value in thinking ahead and knowing where your enemies are going to be standing so you can position yourself in a spot that gives you an advantage. I've said many times before that an effective and powerful engineer strategy is to place your sentry gun in an unexpected area, and what is the heavy if not a living, breathing sentry gun, which leads into the second phase, roaming heavy. Tomislav, banana, and the gloves of running urgently. This is a loadout specifically designed for the independent heavy who don't need no medic, focused not only on building his health as high as it can go or trying to compensate for his deep vein thrombosis. This is where I decided to go AWOL immediately and just try and work on positioning myself in ways that give me an advantage. Because when you're not alerting the enemy to your presence with a loud ass minigun, it's actually pretty easy to put yourself in a place where you can gun people down before they can shoot you back. In the same way that good movement can mitigate taking fatal amounts of damage, good positioning gun can also do practically the same thing. So this sneak style of playing heavy definitely spoke to me more than playing alongside a pocket medic and just trying to out-damage whatever damage came my way. I felt like I could raise the ceiling of what was possible with my skills more consistently than anything that I'd experimented with so far. The Tomislav very quickly became my preferred primary weapon, and the banana, I feel, is much more useful than the sandwich, mostly just because you get to use it a lot more often. The speedy gloves also felt more impactful than the fists of steel, once again just because I feel like movement trumps health in this game, even if all the item really does is just make you a little bit faster at repositioning. I was pretty happy with this playstyle, mainly because I had pretty quickly disconnected myself from the reliance on medic to follow me around and make sure I was having fun, but while I had solved the medic issue and the sitting duck issue, sort of, I had suddenly been faced with a reality that I wanted to ignore for so long. The minigun still isn't very fun to shoot. It's still a sustained fire weapon, and I'm a burst fire boy. That's why I love TF2, because 95% of the guns go BLAM! And that's really fun. So when I hold down the button on people as heavy, my neurons just aren't connecting. My dopamine isn't flowing. I'm just racking up kills with a frown on my face. Not to mention, it's also so easy to get out-DM'd if you start an engagement unrevved, even with the Tomislav faster rev speed, because in addition to this gun not being that fun to shoot, you can't even shoot it right away. You have to wait, and in that precious window of time, your enemy can easily make a multitude of choices to completely screw you over, whether it be just to position themselves around the corner, or to prop peek you to death, or simply just start damaging you right away, getting a head start on chipping away at your health, which in a situation where you have no movement having to commit to revving up, is your only advantage left. And guess what? It's long gone by the time you start firing because the demo man already piped you twice. I don't want to spend my time jump revving around corners to prevent this very common situation from happening. That's not fun. So you know what? Fuck it. Heavy actually does have a burst fire weapon. It's called the shotgun, and it happens to be one of my favorite guns in all of video games, so I don't know why I'm ignoring it. I'm just gonna go ahead and move on to phase 3, Fat Scout. Now everybody thinks Fat Scout is a meme because Heavy isn't firing his minigun, he isn't eating a sandwich. Isn't that weird and crazy to imagine a world where Heavy would not do one of those two things? How ridiculous. But dude, I don't know if it's just because I've been using the shotgun engineer for many years at this point, but this shit is not a meme. Fat Scout is actually really good. In a lot of circumstances, it feels like it's more effective than regular Heavy. Like, what? Because think about it, playing phase 2 roaming Heavy is pretty good until you're unrevved, rounding the corner to come face to face with an enemy player, because you're always going to be having a bit of startup while your opponent doesn't, assuming that they're not also playing Heavy. Oddly enough, Fat Scout solves this issue completely because you're always going to be able to just start blasting, and the shotgun is just a really solid damage dealer. So it honestly doesn't really feel like that much of a trade-off, especially when you consider that in addition to not having to rev up before you start doing damage, you don't lose speed when you fire it. I mean, sure, Heavy's base speed is really slow, but when you're revved up, you're practically stationary. When you're using the shotgun, suddenly you can actually dodge incoming fire to an impactful degree. Sure, you're not bouncing off the walls or anything, but it's unsurprisingly more effective than just sitting there trying to keep your crosshair on someone while they effortlessly unload on your unmoving target of a hitbox. So I spent a lot of time playing Fat Scout, I'll be honest, and because this subclass has always been referred to as a meme, I kind of felt like I might be wasting my time, and yet I was having a lot of fun finally using a burst fire weapon and getting a lot of kills doing it. In particular, I started really loving the family business because it allowed me to stay in fights longer due to the bigger magazine size and my larger health pool. Then it hit me. Fat Scout. Using a shotgun on Heavy. This isn't a subclass. I've actually been over this before. I've had this exact same experience with Battle Edgy. Fat Scout isn't a loadout. I still have a minigun. I'm just choosing not to use it. And why not? Oh, like, why am I only using the shotgun here? There's no rule that says that I can't also switch to my minigun whenever it makes sense to do so. That's the meme. That's the Fat Scout gimmick. It's just a challenge, really. Fat Scout is just an intentional nerf to goof off with. Well, what if I stop goofing off? And what if I just use the minigun and the shotgun? Phase 4, Shotgun Heavy. This is it. This is the apex. Can you believe it? Tomislav, Shotgun, and Holiday Punch. This is the perfect Uncle Dane the Heavy main playstyle. First of all, the Tomislav is just straight up better than the stock for my preferred method of roaming around the map trying to catch people off guard. The silent rev allows me to corner camp, the faster rev speed lets me more quickly start mowing people down, and the tighter spread rewards precise tracking. But because it takes a rather large commitment of slowing yourself down to an exploitable crawl in order to effectively use any minigun, I only use the Tomislav when I'm in a a good position to shoot from, or when the enemy I'm aiming at just doesn't see me in time to effectively retaliate. On the other hand, the shotgun, or in my case the family business most of the time, is the perfect repositioning tool, even better than the gloves of running urgently in my opinion, because while it doesn't give you a burst of extra speed, it allows you to put out instant damage without giving up any of your base speed or health, making it a lot easier to move around from area to area, fighting people without having to plant yourself, take unnecessary amounts of damage, or commit fully to fights that you may not even win. The shotgun is so incredibly useful for just doing damage in general, like you can get shots in from a distance without committing and only switching to your bullet hose when it suits you. This is the missing flexibility that I had been looking for in heavy gameplay, and it's so weirdly obvious. Like, it's practically the default heavy kit, almost as if the developers knew that heavy's weakness would be his big commitment of a primary weapon, getting him into situations where he's biting off more than he can chew. So they gave him a secondary that requires way less commitment to use, but is still effective. And yet people ignore the value of that flexibility for the sandwich instead, because, well, the sandwich is just really, really good. It complements the synergy between the heavy and the medic, and it even allows the heavy to heal himself without one. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, movement is more valuable than health, and the shotgun, while not necessarily being a movement option, does the heavy a favor of not removing even more of his movement by using it. So basically, I like playing heavy now because this is what I do. Commit to advantageous fights with the Tomislav and use the shotgun to reposition safely or be more flexible with the fights that I end up in. And the Holiday Punch, well, this thing is just straight up busted broken, like it's literally a hard counter to getting Ubered on, especially in servers with random crits enabled, and you can do stupid things like this. So yeah, the Christmas mittens are unironically the best. I had a surprising amount of fun playing heavy for a month, and now that I have a solid go-to loadout and game plan in mind for when my team needs a Pootis, I feel like I'm going to be much more open to picking this class unreluctantly as a result. I apologize to any of the 5 heavy mains out there who might have wanted me to talk about other weapons or playstyles, but generally, if I didn't give something like the Brass Beast a mention, chances are it just wasn't really my style. Thanks everybody for watching. If you'd like to see more of me playing video games, make sure to check out Maximum Damage. My friends and I played the first Portal over there, so that was fun. And don't forget to take a look at War Thunder. Go ahead and use my link in the description to get a bonus pack of everything you see on screen here. Limited time offer, so get in on that. And in the meantime, I will talk to you nieces and nephews next time. Bye-bye.